The definition in Webster Dictionary for miscue is mix, calculated action, and a mistake. And I'll use it in this sentence for those people who really don't know how to use a word. Miscue. Turns out the Browns' biggest playmaker in Pittsburgh was a miscue, and the Steelers happily ran it back for 6. No miscues. No, miscue isn't a player on the team, even though it seems like it when your kicker can't hit simple chip shots or your offensive line can't line up right or your quarterback just keeps on throwing picks. And most importantly, when you have two guys who just called up from the practice squad get personal interference calls on them, well, you just know it's a Browns game. Miscues seems to be the theme of the season. But good news is you won't see any miscues tonight, hopefully. But before we dive into the content tonight, please give us a moment and follow us on X, hit that like and subscribe button, enable notifications. Please be kind. Follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram to stay tuned to our latest content. Huge shout out. And YouTube. Huge shout out to our incredible partner, CB Excavating. If you have any excavating needs, please do not be hesitant to give them a call for a quote, along with our good friend Doug White from Allstate Insurance. He can save you big money. Lastly, show your loyalty to the Bearded Browns podcast and get 10% off your order. If you use promo code Bearded Browns podcast at checkout at madvikingbeer.com, you would save yourself 10%. We'll drop the link in the chat later. But that's all I have until now. Breaking news in the NFL or around the NFL is simple. Well, locally here, the Haslam Senior found a property company that will build their legacy in Brook Park. VIKING Property Company will serve as a development partner for the Browns, 176 acre mixed use and entertainment district in Brook Park. I was thinking of Chad talking about his headphones earlier. Bill Belichick becomes.
I was thinking about the mustache. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Bill Belichick becomes the next coach of Carolina, not Carolina, but the Carolina Tar Heels, which is pretty incredible to think that he is going to college and probably going to turn that college around. But that's all with the news.
No, it's not. That is not the only news we got today.
That is the only news we have.
That is not. Angel's lying to you guys right now. There is some big news for Angel's family. Do you want me to say it, Angel, or do you want to say it?
I will say it. We are having a boy. Finally,
Boom.
The cat is out of the bag. I posted a video on Facebook. The cat is out the bag. Well, yes, out of the bag. Well, I'm having a boy, 2 girls, and finally the third and last boy is coming in April 15th. I think she told me. She told me the day like 80 times, but I think it's the 15th.
You better hope if she told you 80 times it's the 15th.
Yeah, I'm bad with dates.
No way to know for sure.
Yeah.
So we're having a boy. That's the next big news for the podcast. So we'll have a Browns fan sharing in the pod here soon enough. Maybe.
It'll be funny because you'll have somebody to have your back now when all the girls in the house make fun of you for being a Browns fan.
True.
He'll probably by the time he's old enough to watch and understand football, he will have to deal with nothing like the world that we dealt with. We are the worst, most haunted generation of Browns fans. Like, sorry for anybody. I think millennials probably are the worst because even Gen Z, like, by the time they were like 8, 9, 10 and really probably learning to watch sports, maybe even older, like at least the Browns, like they didn't have that much suffering before the Browns got okay. Like, we really faced 20 years of the worst at like the most crucial time of watching sports.
Yeah,
So,
facts.
Yeah, we just need a quarterback. At least he'll be able to never experience a game outside of a non-dome. So that
it'll
would
be a
be
totally
different environment for him or experience. Because I could say one day when I was your age, I would truck up to the stadium in 90 and 2-degree weather and 10 feet of snow, and I would watch football.
Dude, I was just talking to my son about that today. He's like, I want a VR headset for Christmas. I'm like, dude, I didn't have that stuff. I got like a Talk Boy and I was happy. I was cool. I was content with a Talk Boy. And now those things are going for like $5,000. Damn it.
Back in my day, we just found a stick and we just played with the stick outside.
Yeah.
That's what you sound like. Damn. He's like, oh my God, Grandpa.
Gregory and James, thank you guys for joining us. Everybody's telling you congratulations.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
That guy needs plenty of stars. Feel free to send him stars all his way.
send the pod stars if you want, man. The pod it would go toward it anyways. Either way, thank you guys for the the love on that. I'm excited to have a boy. But the show must go on. The show meaning I guess it's not gonna go on. But the good, the bad, and the ugly this week. And we have, I think, three good selections, which considering the game, we're limited at good. So who wants the good?
I'll take the good this week. Not that there was much, but the only thing I honestly think that I could put in that good category this week would have been Jerry Jeudy still showing some promise. He had the first touchdown of the game.
Yeah. And he actually ran a pretty good route too.
Oh yeah, he ran plenty of good routes. So I'm gonna have to give the good to Jerry Jeudy again. Finally, to be able to see a wide receiver establish himself somewhat. The stats weren't promising, but he's still on route for maybe a 1,400-yard season. So depending on the circumstances,
it's sad to have to give the good to Jeudy again, but at the same time, it is good to see that even in what was essentially one of our worst offensive games, probably our worst offensive game with Jameis, but one of our worst games overall. It's good to that he still has this ability to stay consistent as we're trying to figure out who is he for the next few years. It is nice to see, oh, we kind of stunk, but Jeudy was there in the clutch, or Jeudy can still make plays. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think his improvement is encouraging for all aspects, because if he continues, like we've been talking about, continues to resurge as a number one, then that takes less pressure off of trying to find a number one receiver, and then you can kind of dive into the draft for what you actually
You never want to have to press.
Yeah.
Right, in the draft. You never want to have to be forced to take something because it's so crucial to you. And right now, as much as we have a lot of needs, we aren't stuck with oh my God, there's 2 or 3 things that if we don't take, we're totally screwed. So that's nice.
Yep. Next up is the bad. That's you, Chad.
That's me. Okay. So the bad is that the defense continues to perform at a lower level than we're all hoping out of them. Continues to struggle, especially on third down, giving up big plays. And in this game, just couldn't quite seem to stop the Steelers, who, although they've been on an offensive upswing the last couple weeks, they're still not this powerful offense. And the fact that we still couldn't really put a stop to them is bad, because it's been a whole season of just less play from the defense than we wanted. And I don't even think this was a game where they had incredible miscommunications or missed on huge plays. It was just a game where they couldn't seem to get off the field on third down, and it just kept the Steelers rolling. And the interceptions didn't help because it put even bigger burden on them. But it was a downer of a game, and I think they played fine, but you got to go in and you got to really stick it to the Steelers the way you did at home in order to have any chance of coming out with a win on a team that has as many wins as you have losses. So that was the bad, is that we still can't quite like get those multiple great games out of the Browns defense.
We were watching again. We did our whole live, and there were so many missed tackles in the backfield. Like, what is the problem with tackling this year? That's my biggest thing. I know you want to get the defense off the field and, make big plays happen on offense and vice versa, both ways. It's just, why can't we tackle? Like, you got 3 dudes missing a tackle behind the line, and there's still a 10-yard gain.
Yeah, I think they're trying to strip that ball, trying to get a turnover before they tackle, which you should try to tackle, wrap up, and then let the second, third guy get the ball. But yeah, the struggle in the defense is pretty inconsistent. Been like that all year. Like Chad said, they're okay. They're not the top 10 defense, but they're
Bless
good.
You.
Bless you. They're not good enough to like they were last year. Sometimes you can win with them. Sometimes now this year you're like, eh. Now the ugly. Go ahead, Chad. You want to say something?
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna agree. Yeah, it's just kind of exactly what we were talking about. It's just like last year. There's teams that have found ways to beat them, especially savvier quarterbacks. And this year, it's just happened a lot more often than last year. And it's tough to tell if the defense has really changed much because our schedule's just harder and we play better quarterbacks. And as much as everybody hated Russell Wilson for some reason and just assumed he was never going to be any good, we talked about how he was still a giant upgrade compared to Pickens, and he's just another quarterback who is one of the smarter quarterbacks in the league and more experienced, and we're not going to get away with some of the like Schwartz tricks against those guys, and we play a ton of them this year.
But not only that, these next 4 games aren't going to get any easier. I mean,
no, they're not going to work on Burrow, even though we somehow have a way with the Bengals. They aren't going to work on Mahomes. They're not going to work on Lamar. They're just this defense has its upside, but we're not going to like overwhelm these more experienced quarterbacks.
I agree. I think maybe you can try to outduel Cincinnati, but other than that, it's going to be we'll talk about that a little more later with the whole Jameis issue. But the ugly, obviously, other than I know we have 2 interceptions by Jameis down, and that is an ugly. But I want to talk about Dustin Hopkins and his kick opportunity to miss kicks and how they're just backbreakers during games and how they're motivator killers. I want to add also there Jameis's 2 interceptions and Dustin's 2 missed kicks as the ugly, because they're just miscues that you just can't afford to make on a team that just needs some momentum to get some confidence. And every time you seem to have any type of fuel or momentum, something like that kills it.
So I get that. But something I really, really want to point out that I've seen, however you say that, this year is with Deshaun Watson out there. I guess we all know we have injuries. That goes without saying. We know that. But when a different quarterback comes in, there's a whole different feel to the team itself. Like, it was like this whole city got uplifted when Deshaun Watson was gone. And I don't want to focus on Deshaun Watson talk at all tonight. You bring in a guy that 1 week throws for 500 yards. We're gonna round up 500 yards, 3 interceptions, 2 which happen to be pick sixes. The Lord saved the guy from his pick sixes this week, but he still threw 2 picks.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you watch the team, you watch the fans turn on him again, like DTR, and we're gonna get to that. But anyways, I'm sorry. It's been a long week. Well, since Sunday.
Yeah, it's been a long half week. Yeah, so Jameis 2 interceptions definitely were bad killers. That's just who he is, though. And I get the fans saying, I feel like, I don't know, like that's who he is. I mean, we've been saying that. So fans are going 180 on Jameis, right? They went from he's the savior to now we don't think he's going to save us. We want somebody new. So we're done. It reminds me of the Toy Story where the dude found Andy and he threw down the old toy and is picking up Andy to play with him. Now we're bored with Jameis. We want DTR, right? Because we think DTR can be our savior, even though we know what DTR can bring.
I'm not done with Jameis. Let him finish out the year. The guy obviously has some kind of camaraderie with this wide receiver core. I say let him play up and let him finish out the year. What really do we have to look forward to with DTR? Is there anything that anybody thinks that DTR can come out there and do that Jameis can't?
Yes, there is some people that think there's definitely still a small segment of the fan base who think like we got to see what we have in DTR because maybe he's something special. I don't know where they're getting it. I think there are people that watched a couple preseason games and got excited, but like I've seen him in regular season games. He doesn't look the same. And he's older. What is he, 25 or 26 already? Like he's not a young dude. I have to check on his age. It doesn't really matter. But the point of it is he's not like a kid like you feel about some of these guys. So I just
25.
think, yeah. So he's already 20. So if you want, maybe he'll be our starter next year. He'll be a 26-year-old rookie, essentially, if you bring him in next year. And I just don't know if I've seen anything from him that makes me think we have to put him in any earlier than like the last game or two of the season where you actually are like, well, we can actually tank here because the season's so far along, it doesn't really hurt us like it would 5 weeks ago. Because, you guys know I'm very like anti-tank. And I wouldn't be shocked if they did that for like a week or two at the end. I wouldn't. But yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I think we just hold steady and we try to like the benefit stays the same. DTR has a 1 touchdown to I think 6 interception stat line right now, and that is frigging terrible. And for people that are like, well, whenever he goes in, he doesn't have a lot of time to prep. Well, that other guys are in that same position, and you have guys like Jameis who people are down on. When he came in without any time to prep, he just immediately was better than what DTR is. So like, as much as you're worried about Jameis's interceptions, he has like a 3 touchdown to 2 interception ratio this year so far. DTR is a 1 to 6. Like he just throws interceptions. You have guys on this team like Jerry Jeudy who are trying to do something. Elijah Moore's trying to get another contract. He'd probably like to stay here from what he's reported if he could. And you're talking about taking a quarterback who can actually get them the ball despite his interceptions, which may hurt the team, but they don't hurt the receivers or the running backs or the linemen. They don't hurt the offense. The offense can still continue to thrive and progress. You think Jerry Jeudy's going to feel okay about his chance to get his first over 1,000-yard season, try to set the new standard for who he is, try to get his quote-unquote breakout, and you're going to take that away from him just so you can see what DTR looks like, and you don't think that's going to like hurt the culture of your team? That's not going to piss off your players that you just pack it in and take away like the one guy who's helping them? Elijah Moore has I think 2 100-yard receiving games since Jameis took off. You don't think he's going to be a little bit salty and not want to like give all of his effort if the franchise decides they're not going to give all their effort?
Yeah.
Like, give me a break. Nick Chubb came back for this pile of crap team. Like, you're just going to be like, sorry, Nick. Like, I know you're back and you're trying to work yourself in shape for your future and for this team, but like, we kind of want to see if DTR is not the heap that he's been for the last 3 times he's been out there. Like, I just don't get it. It's
there's a stat line with DTR where he was like 13 for 46 and he only had like 135 yards. Like he threw 46 times and he had 135 yards. So
that's like Russell Wilson this weekend though. He only had like 100.
Yeah, but Russell Wilson has a history of being good for like 10 years and has been to Super Bowls.
And he
DTR has never shown you anything good yet.
Right,
other than beating the Niners, which where you want to put luck on that.
That was
still,
strange.
He gets to win for that.
That was like my first show ever.
Yeah,
ever.
And that's probably one of the reasons, besides preseason,
people like him.
Fans are like so stuck on him because like he was the quarterback the day that the Browns beat the 49ers, thanks to great defense and an incredible kick. And I don't even think Christian McCaffrey was out there. Nope. And it's like, guys, you accidentally snuck one against a much better team than you because of injuries and flukes. Like DTR did not lead a 400-yard rally with 3 touchdowns to beat that team. He just hung in there. Like,
do you think the only thing that well, maybe they're not thinking this, but they see is the RPO option, which is what they wanted to do with Winston or with Watson, that DTR could run that better? Because there's a couple plays this week against Pittsburgh that when I was sitting there, I'm thinking, man, if they would have RPO'd that, then he probably would have gotten 10 yards as opposed to 3 or 4. But at the same time, I mean, it's there.
It's a great point. It's a great point. My question to those people would be, they're running the RPO because they thought it would work with Watson, and they're running it because they thought that their new offensive coordinator could pull that off. So are you going into next year wanting Watson and wanting that same offensive coordinator? Because if so, maybe you see what DTR can do in that system. But if you're looking at this team and saying, like,
yes,
I don't really like what the offensive coordinator has brought to this team, and I don't really want to go forward with Jameis Winston or with Deshaun Watson, then probably running the RPO with DTR is not the route, because that's not Kevin Stefanski's best option going forward, in my opinion. So,
James, you're right. It was PJ Walker against the Niners. It was. I always forget that.
It was Pittsburgh.
Oh, the Pittsburgh.
It was a Pittsburgh game. Yeah, Pittsburgh.
It was a big game.
Thank you, James, for that.
You're right. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, I guess they're easy to switch. It was another team who was better than us that we got to win by just playing great defense and like just sneaking one from them.
So now it makes better sense why fans want them, because it wasn't the Niners. They beat Pittsburgh. So yeah, there's more of a connection there. That makes sense.
Chad, what did Mary Kay Cabot warn us about?
Yeah, so I put this on the outline because I remember literally the day Jameis Winston came out. He had his first game. He played pretty well. The Browns beat the Ravens. Fans came out very excited about him. Mary Kay Cabot went on the Best Damn Cleveland Sports Show, or the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, or whatever it's called. And she said, I just want to say, like, I see everybody's excited, but let's not overdo it, and let's stay realistic about what Jameis Winston is. He's a pretty good quarterback, but he throws a lot of interceptions, and he's not always going to have games like that. So let's stay realistic. And fans went ballistic on her. Like, her mentions and her comments were like brutal. Like, oh, you just love Deshaun Watson, or you're an idiot, or whatever. I mean, people, I'm being polite, but people like destroyed her for telling people to like have fair expectations about Jameis, because like that was a really good game by him, but he is historically uneven, throws a lot of interceptions, and is up and down. And meanwhile, looking at it, 5 games later or whatever, what does Jameis look like? Up and down, can really move the offense, but also throws a lot of interceptions and is kind of a roller coaster. She was literally exactly spot on. And it's about time when like reporters or us or anybody's real with the fans and it's not what they wanted to hear, like, stop getting pissed and acting like children. Maybe listen and take in what this person is saying, because maybe they have good reasoning to why they're saying it, and you will all have a much stronger expectation of what's going on with this team. Because I just couldn't believe, I'm like, she's literally just dropping facts. Like the guy is this. He's played for 7 years in the league. Here's what he's been, whatever. 9 years in the league. Like, and this is what it looks like with him. And I just couldn't believe people went off the rails for that. And then a couple games later, she's exactly right. So nobody's going to go back and be like, sorry, Mary Kay, we're wrong. But meanwhile, they're all over Twitter like, oh, you can't go forward with Jameis. Like, you can't do it. You need to move on. It's like, really? Because when she said to be cautious about him, you freaked out. And now the same accounts are like, you can't go into next year with this guy. You can't win with this guy. Like, oh my gosh, guys.
Like, the next question, though, on the outline is, what are other realistic options?
And that's what I would like to know, because honestly, I see people saying, like, you can't go back in with this. And I'm like, well, you got a $45 million quarterback, $46 million quarterback on the roster. So you cannot pay a franchise level quarterback. You can only pay a couple million to somebody. So I've approached people and said, look, okay, you can't come back with Jameis. Who are you going forward with? And some say DTR. Stupid. And like, again, I'll never count DTR. He could improve. He could be fine, whatever. But like, there's no reason to think that he's better than Jameis right now. Some people say ridiculous stuff like Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's about to fight for the MVP on like a 10-2 team or something like that. You think you're getting Sam Darnold? If he even gets out of the building from the Vikings, somebody's giving him like $35+ million. He's getting a Baker Mayfield deal at minimum right now because of the way he's playing right now. Like, you really think that's the option? Like, okay, I go Patrick Mahomes. Like, you can't just say guys that we can't get.
Dude,
There needs to be realistic options, guys.
This isn't
we
fantasy
put out a reel
football.
with Sam from our show this Sunday.
Yeah.
And it was just random. Angel wound up just recording with his phone, and you hear Sam in the background, like,
Talking about Patty.
I'm Kermit the Frog. I'm Patrick Mahomes.
People think it's like, dude, I said give me a realistic option, and they're spitting out stuff like, you might as well just start making guys like realistic options are guys like Justin Fields will be realistically available. Derek Carr, if he gets cut, which he might not, is still probably a pretty expensive option for you. Guys that are Jameis level or cheaper are like, your realistic options are probably Justin Fields, Jacoby Brissett. If you're thinking about Sam Darnold, the more realistic option is to offer a first-round pick to take JJ McCarthy, who's a rookie who I didn't really like in the draft, who's now coming off an ACL surgery. You're giving up, like, maybe they're like, well, if we sign Darnold long-term, like, we got to move this rookie. So maybe you can bring somebody in a rookie deal there, but I would guess you're probably giving up your first-round pick because he's rated as high as the first rounders that are coming out this year. Is that what you want? A first rounder coming off an ACL tear who's never played in a football game?
Nah.
Like, I guess.
And then he had to redo surgery on that too. Because something went wrong. So he went through 2 surgeries. So that's not good.
So maybe you can sneak him maybe they're like, we got to ditch this guy in his salary and you give him a second. I would consider that. Sure. That's a great way to use a second round pick, I suppose. Who knows what Barry had him graded? We were not picking last year, so I'm sure he still has a grade on him, but like, but like that's a more realistic option than Darnold. It's a more realistic option. Minshew?
No.
Gardner Minshew, maybe?
No.
Like, that's a realistic option. Is he better than Jameis? He's close. I don't know.
Yeah, they're hand in hand, but I mean,
if you guys could pick up one college guy right now, who would it be? James Frank says Jackson Dart. I know that's Angels guy.
Jackson Dart's good.
I mean, I still think Cam Ward is the most exciting prospect as a guy you don't have to play as a rookie. That's still the guy that like kind of intrigues me. Like, I'm curious about him. Shedeur Sanders is a guy I think would work the best in Stefanski's system because he doesn't have the like athletic-y upside of some of these guys like Cam Ward and stuff, but he is a very like fundamentally sound quarterback, and that is a very Kevin Stefanski thing. So, but I still think Cam Ward's like the fun one.
James Frank says Minshew is just a Timu Baker Mayfield.
He is literally poor man's. There's the best description I've heard. He's literally like, when we had Baker Mayfield, I was like, how are we not bringing in Gardner Minshew as the backup? That would be the most fun quarterback room in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
I really wish we could have made that happen. They look similar. They play similar. They're both like on the smaller side. They both scramble a little more than they should. I think Minshew makes less downfield decisions than Jameis, but also doesn't make as many risky decisions. He's probably a better player for Kevin Stefanski.
Safer.
He is probably a worse player for Deshaun if he has to stay around. Take your pick.
Yeah, I think Drew Allard would be pretty good to bring in he's very young. I think bring him in and you got to build him up. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight. We know that.
How about Quinn Ewers from Texas?
Man, he is sinking down the charts so fast.
I get that, but he's a under the center quarterback that can play shotgun that has a good arm. Yeah. Now he plays good competition at SEC, so he's going to obviously play. He's going to actually his stats are going to, and I don't think his stats to touchdown ratio is even that bad to even.
Honestly, I don't dig into the draft until I kind of know the draft order. So I usually don't do it until like I start looking at it in the offseason because that still gives you months to look at it. Yeah. And I don't start paying attention to mock drafts till then either. Quinn Ewers, though, I do watch scouting reports though, because I don't always want to see the scouting report once they've done combines and stuff. I want to know like things get real biased. Like when after the college seasons are over, I kind of like to see the scouting reports, and his report is fine, and his numbers are actually pretty good
He's
too.
good, yeah.
You wonder if he just like stayed in long enough to give himself problems, and he does play a tough schedule. It'll be fun to see him in the playoffs because now you're going to see him in 1 or 2 more games against elite competition and see how he does.
I mean, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's who you want in Kevin's system, somebody that could take care of the ball.
But then you have these guys out there that have like they're going to end the season with like 38 touchdowns, and that excites people. But I get it. You like a steady, stable quarterback with good fundamentals is a realistic thing. It's one of the reasons I want to keep Kevin, because that's a realistic person to plug in a Kevin system and still think you can make the playoffs. And I just want a team that can consistently win. Everybody wants to like shoot for the Super Bowl next year. And I'm like, I'm just okay winning. And then you get your shots at the Super Bowl as you continue to be a good organization. I don't want to like throw everything in and try to go for the Super Bowl for a year or two like they did with Watson. It's like, if it doesn't work out, crumble it and start over and just try to get the new guy. It's like, I just want to win years after year after year.
I want to hit 2 of these comments really quick. Gregory on YouTube says, it'll look better when we play complementary football. We need to get this throwdown like to 30-ish. Just thoughts. And then James says, I ain't going to lie, though. I'll cheer for whoever's behind center. I'm just over this experiment.
Probably. I mean, I probably will too. Even if they roll, we're different. Even if they roll Watson out there, unlike most of the fan base, I'll still hope for him to be good and cheer for him to do well. I think a lot of people turned on like, I'd rather he just fail so we can get rid of him. And I'm like, he's not going anywhere. So
listen, I'll guarantee you if the dude came out here and balled out like he's supposed to be balling out, this fan base would fall in love with him again. It's easy.
Yeah,
all you got to do is win
again,
games.
He's coming off another. Everybody struggles when they come back from this type of injury. And I know it's a weird thing to quote, but he's coming back from another injury that everyone has a slow start from. Rodgers struggled with it this year. Kirk Cousins doesn't look as good as he has for the last like 5 or 6 years this year. Guys who come off Achilles also struggle for half a season, and Browns fans are not going to be patient with him because they hate him. If he was someone that they weren't patient with Baker Mayfield and they loved him. So they're not going to be patient with Watson because most of the fan base, part of the fan base hated him the second we traded for him. And I don't care what anybody says. I was on a show at that time and we would have people writing in like, I hate this trade. I wanted to stay with Baker. I don't like that this guy has this background. Like a lot of people didn't like him, but were willing to give him a chance to like be good on the field and feel awkward about it. When he sucked on the field, those people were quick to be like, good, I didn't want him anyway. And then all these like fringe people that were wishy-washy were like, oh my God, he's terrible. And he's also got this background. Very few people, there's very few clockers left, man. I'm all over Twitter and there was clock posts all summer. And now there's like now they're just only talking to each other. Like it's just a group of Deshaun Watson, like honks that literally just post and comment to each other and then get banged by everybody else on the internet.
Right. And I don't want to spend the whole show on him, man. As of right now, he's not our quarterback. It's simple. We're gonna move on.
He's on vacation.
Angel, you got the receiving game, buddy. Yeah,
people are mad about the vacation. People are mad I don't care about the vacation.
He's in Miami, dude.
It just gives you. I don't care about it. He's not playing. He's not here. He's out of sight, out of mind for me. But I do get why. Like, what a dumb thing. Like, I don't think he posted that out to every. I don't think it was like, hey, everyone, check this out. But like, of course, it's going to go around to everyone, even if it was private. Somebody's going to get it out there. And like, dude, talk about going from like people not liking you to people just despising you.
And it's even worse because you lost, right? So if they would have won, they would be like, we don't care. We got Jameis.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, you suck. One encouraging thing that we can do to tie this into the show notes is that if we do draft a quarterback or get a quarterback, I feel more and more confident by each week that our receiving core is becoming stable. Can we use somebody else? I'm not going to dismiss that. You can always use talent, right? But I am very encouraged by Jerry Jeudy and more specifically, and of course the Chief. But we didn't question the Chief coming in to the season. We questioned these two guys. The issue I had with the game was that Jerry Jeudy was only targeted 2 times in the first half, and he was 6 times for the whole game. I mean, you can't do that. Now, there's probably schemes that Pittsburgh probably smartly drew up, which it seemed like they did from what I was watching during the broadcast, where they would rush 4 and then drop the most people they can in coverage to confuse Jameis, which, by the way, I do think. And as we were sitting there, I was saying he doesn't look comfortable. His feet are moving consistently. Like he's like scanning the field like too quick. And I think Pittsburgh's defense just messed him up because I think they gave him looks which he thought it was man, and then they pulled out at the time in which he couldn't read it fast enough. But even more, he had only 4 targets and 3 catches. I mean, that wasn't enough for me, nor
Agreed.
should it be. You know, you should be targeting these guys a lot more. Now, the Chief had 13 targets and 7 receptions. So, now it's hard. You like, Angel, last week you said you wanted to run the ball more. Now you're saying you throw the ball more. But you need to pick and choose those moments in the game in which you throw. And I don't think they did that well this game.
So Woosah for a second here.
Yes.
The throws on both sides were so weird. Everything seemed like a screen pass. I mean, that's what I saw. Everything was a screen, like a running back screen or like some weird wide receiver screen. That's all that was being thrown by both teams, it seemed. Were both teams
in defense
playing too conservative?
Of the receivers. Yeah, I was going to say, in defense of the receivers, I totally agree with you. I do think Jameis played more conservative this game because I do think he was probably a little haunted by how bad the interceptions went last game. 3 picks and 2 of them being pick sixes. And all of he won. So, I mean, he didn't win. He succeeded as far as moving the offense, but he had to have left that game thinking just, if I don't throw these picks, we beat Denver. Like, he got to know if he doesn't throw those picks, he beats Denver. And he probably spent this whole week being like, okay, I got to focus on not throwing pick sixes.
And Chad just pick sixed himself.
He pick sixed himself out. The chat Streamlabs has been doing that the last couple of weeks.
I don't know. Like, we finally get rid of our emotional disaster of here, hold on. He is back.
He's back.
I just disappeared for a second. That was real weird. I was just saying, like, I just think he was probably not playing super conservative, but playing more cautious than he was, trying not to move it down the field too much. He threw a couple passes out of bounds. He looked like he was afraid to throw inside to guys because those are the ones that can get picked.
Yeah.
But he threw picks anyway. He just, like, I think he's better when he just lets it go. And, like, if you like, yes, you want to avoid the pick sixes, but if you throw your picks, you throw your picks. It's fine if you can throw more touchdowns than interceptions. And I think he's just, like, played just slightly more timid than he has in any other game. And I have to imagine it's because of the Denver game. And that affected the receivers. Like, Jerry did okay, but Elijah, like you said, Elijah had 4 targets or something like that. Like, they a lot to Njoku because those are a lot of times easier throws, safer throws. So I just think that's probably what you were seeing in that game. But
that first interception was so weird, though. Me and Angel were standing next to each other. I'm like, oh, that's a nice pump fake. You know, you pumped the lineman that was coming at you out, but number 99, dude, that another screen. He didn't throw it far enough. He should have lobbed it up a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
It's a bad lob.
Oh yeah, he'll eat that. I mean, he did. He does. He says, I got to fix this, but
that's not. Really, I mean, that one's just like, that one feels fluky, like it slipped off his finger. It's not his normal throw. His normal receptions are just reckless. That was just, I'm gonna lob it over this guy, and he just misjudged that lineman's ability to get up and get it. And he's like, I'm just gonna lob it over his head, and he missed. That was just a miss, but. Not a terrible read, not a terrible play. He threw it where he was supposed to throw it. He just needs to put a little more air under it. But I don't know. But he did not push the ball down the field the way he normally has the previous games.
So yeah, thank you,
and
everybody.
The Steelers are pretty good against the pass. Like, they have a pretty good pass defense. We were looking at Elijah Moore's numbers. Elijah Moore in out of his last 5 games. He had 111 yards in Denver, 66 yards in New Orleans, and another really good defense. He only had 28 yards against LA. He also only had 34 and 21 against Pittsburgh. So these, like, very strong pass defenses. have been able to slow him down. Whereas like New Orleans and Denver, 111, 66 yards on 14 and 8 targets. Like, yeah, we need more of that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't have that many targets. I felt like they threw to him more than that. I don't know what I was watching, but I guess when you're doing a live,
Judy kind of proved that he's defense proof, which is a huge thing we talked about with if you're going to be the number one option on a team and you want to be a quote number one receiver, you cannot have games where like Moore is not that guy. Better pass defense have taken him out of the game. Better cornerbacks have taken him out of the game.
So
Judy
played
like these same
wide receiver 3,
same teams. Yeah, Judy's playing these same guys. He had 64 yards against Pittsburgh, 85 yards against Pittsburgh, 73 yards against LA, and then against the lighter pass defenses, 142 against New Orleans and 235 against Denver,
which is a good defense.
Yeah, and so you're looking at a team where it's like, okay, you got a number 2 in Elijah Moore-ish, because he can be taken out of the games, but he also is capable of having pretty good games. Judy looks like a number 1 right now. Cedric Tillman's last 5 games, he put up 28, 47, 75, 99, and 81 yards.
And James Frank just said Tillman would have made a difference for Pittsburgh.
He would have been our number 2 receiver, and Elijah Moore would have stayed as our number 3 in our slot if Tillman gets back, which he might be back as soon as next week. Who knows? But yeah, so like you go into next year closing out the receiver talk with a trio, if you can keep Moore or if somebody else can step into that role of guys that you have got to trust. And then you've got Njoku, who continues to be a weapon, and even other guys like young guys like Woods and Thrash, who you're hoping will develop into a usable piece. And that's without any free agents and the draft. Like you're fine without Cooper if you can add somebody that can help you, or you think you can get your hands on a legitimate game breaker, which Jerry Jeudy is great and he's having an awesome season. I just don't know if I would label him like a game changing receiver. If you can get your hands on one of those, maybe you still get them, but at least you don't feel like I desperately need this or we're screwed. You're okay.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's running back.
Yeah, then there is the running back
Gregory
room.
just asked about that. Really quick, I'm going to hit 2 comments. James says, Judy has a potential to be like Jefferson, Lamb, Chase, and Amon-Ra. And Sam says,
Eddie.
I think Winston was so worried about correcting those pick sixes from the week before that he wasn't taking his normal chances. Definitely wasn't trying to be, definitely was not trying to thread any needles.
Yeah.
Nailed it. That's exactly what I think happened. I think he was like, I think the pick sixes were in his head, which usually doesn't happen, but he tried to put a focus on it. And I feel like you want to do that, but that's more of a like, study the film. Don't try to do it in 1 week. Try to do it over the next several games and try to do it over the off season. Like you can't just in one game erase something that's you've been dealing with for 9 years in the NFL. Like you gotta just take it game by game, take your chances, watch the film, learn from those mistakes, and little by little try to cut those out going into next year.
Yeah.
He's right though. I think that's the case.
Let's get into the running back game. There's been a couple of questions asked. Even Gregory said, hard topic, but I think we have to draft a running back in the draft or pick one up from free agency. Which one would be better? And that's a big sore subject for Cleveland right now because we brought Nick Chubb back with incentives this year on his contract after coming back from the injury. And he came back earlier than we all thought. But this game, I think he showed more improvement by far. But yeah, I would still like to pick up another running back. In my opinion, somebody that's decent that you could have behind Nick Chubb. Let Nick Chubb walk that guy's future, if you will.
What do you guys think? Do you expect? I mean, Nick Chubb's only on contract for this year. Do you guys expect him back next year?
Go ahead, Angel.
I want to say I hope so because of my fandom. And I hope they do it in a way that is intelligent as far as contract wise, where it's team friendly. Because I do think I did see. I mean, I think he averaged 4.4 last week against Pittsburgh last game, and there was some There was some improvement when he hit the hole. I felt like he had a couple of big gains when he touched the ball. My question is like, you guys are not happy with Ford with his limited option?
So
Not that I'm not happy with Ford. It's that I think after these last 2 years, I know exactly what Ford is. And I didn't expect him to be Nick Chubb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I thought he'd be Nick Chubb, but I know what he is, and I don't believe he's a lead back. I believe he is a second option, and on a good team anyway, or unless you have just an incredible running scheme, which right now I don't think we have. But he's outplaying Nick Chubb currently. But
so if your offense is going to be pass first, would Ford be okay being a lead back?
I think that the line is set up for the pass right now. I don't think it's set up for as much run as we have been in the past couple of years.
So that's my point. So if you bring back Chubb, he doesn't catch out the backfield as well, and he's just going to run. So if they're not going to be a run offense, sure, Chubb is hopefully going to be somewhat to where he used to be. But do you think Ford would be not a better option, but a better option than somebody in the late round that you can draft?
I think right now on this team currently, Ford is the better option. And as much as Chubb's not a threat on third down. He's not like a crazy receiving threat, but he can catch the ball fairly well. And we know like he can break tackles, at least when he's himself. I mean, I would rather have Ford out there on first and second down and Chubb because he can actually block on third down and knows how to like come off a block and be an emergency safety valve for the quarterback. So that's actually how I would use him right now, because if you look at the numbers, Ford is just continuing to outplay Chubb game after game as Chubb recovers. And the one thing I got out of Chubb, I should mention this game, like you said, you saw him like improving again, and that's true. Like he had better yards per carry, and he's
some phenomenal blocks.
Game by game. Like he's had, anywhere as low as 2.3 to 2.6 yards per carry, and then he was able to rush for 4.4 yards per carry in limited carries. He's only carried the ball an average of like 10 to 15 times a game. But what I'm noticing from him, I guess the best thing I can say is when I see him see things, but he's still not agile enough to react to them. So I saw him take a handoff twice where he ran, he saw the hole, he stops and goes to cut up, but it takes him a half second that it didn't used to. And then by the time he gets the hole, somebody has gotten there and closes in on him, where the old Chubb would have been one step ahead, busted off that hip tackle with no problem. And what's in front of him is clear because he made the right read. And so that's why I would be happy to have him back next year, because he'll have an entire year of like training, agility drills, and I would expect him to be much more like what we've seen. Like we talked about it. He came back earlier than I expected. And like most of his games, 2.5 yards per carry, 3 yards per carry, 2.3 yards per carry. This game, 4.4 against a pretty good defense. That's more of the Chubb. I don't think he's going to be a 5+ yards per carry guy going forward consistently, but I do think he can be a 4+ yards per carry guy going forward. So if we get that back next year, I would take that. And I think that's better than Ford. Ford's biggest problem to me is he's a pretty good runner and he's getting better at mixing his patience and his reads. He just can't seem to get out of making negative plays either on first down or when it's like 3rd and 1. Your options on those downs are get any positive yard or like die trying. And he still has this thing of like, it's 1st and 10. I took the handoff. I don't see my hole very open, so I'll try to go wide. Lost 4 yards. Now it's 2nd and 14, or it's even worse. This one drives me nuts. It's 3rd and 1. Shoot yourself straight through to the line of scrimmage and just try to plow through. He sees the hole is covered, so he stutters. Then he tries to break it somewhere else, and he gets tackled, and now it's 4th and 4. And it's like, you idiot. We can go for it also on 4th and 1. You can like
You don't need the first down. Yeah.
I get it so quick for him. Like, he's not stupid. It's just he's reacting when there's no time to think. But his reaction is often, I'm going to try to make a bigger play. And the smart play is just get back to the line of scrimmage so you can try another down and hope for better. But he just has to get over, if he's going to be useful for this team, or he has any chance of getting re-signed after his last year of his contract next year, he has to get rid of the negative plays. You just can't lose 3 or 4 yards a carry unless you're Saquon Barkley and you can pull out a 30-yard out of your ass like every so often.
Literally.
He doesn't.
He'll jump over you.
Speaking of Eagles fans, wow.
Yeah, you can lose it. You can lose 3 or 4 yards every so often if you can make those gigantic plays to make up for it, but he doesn't. And when they lose 4 yards on first down, and now it's 2nd and 14, they can't run anymore. They're not going to run again. They have to throw now on 2nd and 3rd down, and everybody knows it. So
hypothetically, if you're going to replace Ford, would you would want to do it in a draft?
Don't get me wrong. I don't want to replace him. I want to add to this room, knowing that he could leave and Chubb after next year.
Okay, so how high are you drafting a running back in the draft?
Third or 4th round, probably. Okay. I'm not looking for Nick Chubb at 2.5. I mean, if you're at 2.5 and there's an Ohio State running back sitting there, and you're like, could be our next Nick Chubb. Yeah, you can take that guy, but I'm not like reaching.
It's going to be a deep. It might be a deep.
It's going to be a deep running back class, according to what everybody's saying. So I'm thinking more like 3rd, 4th, 5th round. If there's a guy on your board who you had a 2nd round grade on, or you think can come in and even play as good or better than Ford, even as good as Ford. Ford was like a 5th rounder, I think. So if you think you can find a guy in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, 2nd, it better be elite. I mean, if you're going to draft somebody that high, you better get a Nick Chubb type running back. You better get somebody that's a beast. But if you're going to pick somebody in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, you're thinking of somebody that might eventually replace Chubb and Ford. And I'm okay with that in a running back class that's supposed to be really good.
Come on, man. We picked up a kicker in the 4th round. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves
here. Never do that again.
A couple of things we won't do again. Give out a big guarantee contract, and we would never draft a kicker. Don't even draft a kicker. Don't even give any round. Don't even draft me a 7th-round kicker. Give me somebody that I can hopefully
get a free agent.
Free agent. Yeah. That's all you need. There's somebody made a good point on one of our social media platforms and said there are 250,000 soccer players in the world. Why can't we find a kicker?
Yeah, actually, it was brought up during our broadcast on Sunday.
That's why it might have been that.
Did I give you guys my theory?
You said that. Go ahead.
Did I give you guys my kicking theory? I think we might have talked about it last week about how I think the reason that as a whole kicking has dropped this year is
you actually put up some good numbers.
Kickers spent so much time trying to focus on this new kickoff rule and how they can adjust their kick and how they can land it. Kickers haven't thought about kickoffs in 10 years. They just kick it as hard as they can. It goes out of the back of the end zone, play over. All they practice and think about is field goals from every angle, from every distance. This year, for the first time, all of them, and this doesn't excuse Dustin Hopkins, because from the numbers I sent you guys, he's like the 3rd worst kicker in the league. And that's being generous. He's got like a 64% field goal range. It was 69 before this game. It dropped after more misses to 64. It's like 2 people worse than him, and only one of them is a full-time kicker. And then the next guy who's kicked in the league professionally is York, who going into Sunday, I don't remember what he did with Cincinnati.
He had a 38-yarder.
38.
Okay. Do you want to hear a funny story? His girlfriend is a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, right? And
she was watching.
She was watching, and as he made an extra point, she's like, "Thank you, God." Like they replayed. I'm like, that's kind of sad.
Because he's out of the league if he misses another one. Nobody will touch him. And again, he made a 38-yarder. Great. He's 1 for 3. Don't get all worked up that we.
No. Someone posted on one of these Brown sites. Look who we missed out, and I thought he was joking. I thought he was joking. I thought he was being sarcastic because I'm that type of sarcastic guy. I would do that, right? But he was literally defending it. Like, he's young. He could, dude. I'm like, I didn't even comment. I was like, I have to go back to work. This
Kickers
dude
can
is
play till
insane.
they're 40. I don't care how young
Yeah.
he is. I only need somebody for the next 3 or 4 years at a time because the ways kickers move, 3 or 4 years of a kicker is fine. I don't need him to be 22. Kickers don't. It's not the same game as it was, where it's like we signed Phil Dawson. He stayed here for 14 years. Like that's not what I'm expecting. That's rare. But then you also look at like the guy who's one spot above, and I will give him credit. He's like a 70% field goal kicker this year, which is still way better than Hopkins. Is the Ravens kicker who is going straight to the Hall of Fame as the
Justin
greatest
Tucker.
kicker in
Tucker.
history.
Mr.
Tucker,
Automatic. Yep.
yeah, he's going straight to the Hall of Fame. First ballot guy, greatest kicker in history. He's one spot above Hopkins as far as kicking. So when people are freaking out about it, I'm like, well, that's the only reason I'm like, I don't like it, but I'm not freaking out because, just certain guys you don't expect are struggling. The reality of it is right now you just see if he can play through it. You don't bother cutting him because you're trying to play as good of offense and defense as you can without winning games and keeping the culture of like guys trying and getting better without necessarily giving up too far in the draft. So like if you lose by missing kicks, at least the team's like, it's only the kicker. It's not us. The Browns are fine. Hopkins needs to work. It's just a different thing from like when the quarterback stinks and it's like everything looks bad. Like
Washington, the Ohio State, Michigan game. We could have won that game if those 2 field goals weren't missed. But we'll talk about that next year. The new runnings games coach, Angel. Do you want? We gotta. Speed this up a little bit here.
So the running games coach. So what I've actually smarted men to me via podcast I listened to. Thank you, Chad. Brought up a very interesting stat. He said 4 handoffs under center for -4 yards against Pittsburgh. Against Denver, 10 carries under center for 17 yards. They can't seem to run when the quarterback is under center. Now, Chubb had a shotgun last week against Pittsburgh, 9 carries, 53 yards. Ford, 9 carries, 33 yards. Could have been more, but he was -5. Wasn't his fault. I know everyone wants to blame him, but there was a couple missed blocks. Smarter man than me pointed this out while I was listening via podcast, and I believe him because I actually watched game tape. 9 for 33, and Winston went 3 for 23 in the shotgun which is 2 RPOs and 1 quarterback sneak. So basically, this whole time I was saying, why are they not playing under center more? And then I realized, well, they can't hand the ball off. That's why they can't.
And by the way, the other team knows that too. If we know that, and if podcasts that are doing film breakdown know that, that's what defensive coaches do. They just break down film to find out how you stop a team. So all they have to say is like, well, if they're under center, here's how we stop the run. And so the Browns know they're doing that. And they're like, well, then we got to run from shotgun. So the team believes we'll actually run or are a threat to run.
Throw.
So you got to play out of shotgun all of a sudden. And like, I think it's some of what Mike said earlier. Like I don't just think so. Our offensive line is not what they typically are. We had a lot of injuries. We've got some older guys, and I'm not even going to just blame age because Bitonio being a little older doesn't bother me. What bothers me is Bitonio being the only person that's been healthy this whole season, and he's the oldest. Like that can't be the case.
Mm-hmm.
You need these younger guys to like go, but also they had to learn a whole new blocking scheme this year. They lost a incredibly good coach. And we've talked about this before. I don't even know how to judge the new offensive line coach on their blunt run blocking schemes because he's been coaching different players who've been injured and a different line like week after week, all off season. Half the team couldn't practice. Like, so I don't even know how good of a coach he is because who could he have coached? Like, most of the guys couldn't even practice. And then the one guy who can, Bitonio, practices the least of every lineman on the team because he gets the most veteran days off and he deserves them. But the reality is between that new coach and between Nick Charlton being the new run game coordinator when it used to be who's our old line coach?
Mitchell. Oh, excuse me.
Stump Mitchell was the running back coach and and was partially working on the Browns run game. But I'm blank on who the Browns
Our offensive coordinator, Bill Callahan.
Callahan, yes. So Callahan, last year, Callahan was a huge portion of the run design along with working with the linemen on run blocking. Mitchell helped with the running backs and worked with Callahan as to develop the run game. Now, both of those guys are gone. And not only do you have a new running backs coach and a new offensive line coach, your run game coordinator is neither of them. That's a different person, Nick Charlton. So now you have 3 new guys in the mix, and you have injured linemen, an injured running back, and a completely new set of running concepts that Stefanski has never run because they came from Dorsey and his offense that he brought over. And it was supposed to be like what you said. You were supposed to include more of an option running game that you would be running with
RPO.
With Watson, an RPO game that you'd be running with Watson. And Nick Chubb wasn't privy to any of that training and coaching in the offseason because he couldn't practice yet. So, like, everything is wrong about that. And the question for me really becomes, is this an opportunity, though? Because nobody really ever – it looks like nobody really ever got it. The line didn't get it.
Right.
The running backs didn't get it. The offense never really caught on. Watson hasn't been out there, so he clearly hasn't mastered it. That's what made me wonder, do you just start fresh and find somebody that you trust who gets fired from who knows where, who you're like, I know this guy, I like that run scheme, it fits more of what Stefanski has always been successful with? Is it time to start thinking, if you're Barry DiPodesto and you're thinking like,
yeah,
okay,
I like calling him that.
When this season ends, are we going to work with Kevin to find him a set of assistant coaches, including run
I've been
game.
waiting to get this out.
Like I said, I don't even need to fire the 2 coaches. I don't even need to technically fire the running backs coach because Ford is having his best, probably his most productive season, and Chubb is doing something, and Pierre Strong looks like he's okay. So the guy can clearly coach a little. The line coach has been handed a nightmare of a line situation.
Horrible.
And he's at least holding it down. I'm more thinking offense coordinator and run and pass game coordinator. Is it time to start looking at potential options? Because we already know some coaching staffs are breaking up and there's going to be firings. Should they be looking to move on from those type of guys?
I want to hit up these 2 comments. Sorry. I want to hit up these 2 comments. There's been something I've been waiting to get to this point at the show.
I was just going to say yes. I was going to say yes and then say, Mike, go. That's what I was going to say. Hit the comments.
So Gregory says Posick is getting steamrolled week after week. And then James says Conklin actually looked great versus Watt. And we saw that.
You did?
Yeah, we saw that.
Conklin is one of the best 3 right tackles.
Chad, shut up.
I'm
kidding. No, I'm kidding.
No, he has improved.
Good. And I'm mad about it because people were like, cut him last year. Like, oh, he's injured too much. Cut him. Like, he's incredible, guys. He's incredible.
James Frank says, I like Deuce Staley, and that's what I want to get to. There's certain coaches. So we went through, remember how we were talking about revamping the entire team this year? And we decided that'd be stupid. Well, we kind of did that with the coaches last year. We literally revamped the whole coaching squad from running backs to line, everything. What is there? Callie Bronson is now like a wide receiver coach. Like everything has changed.
Tight end coach and an assistant last year.
Yeah, so everything has changed, and these players adapt to these people. I'm going to try to say this without getting pissed off, because some of these Cleveland fans don't understand.
No, get pissed off.
Well, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm going to
do it for the gram.
So listen, my outlook on this whole situation is when a whole coaching staff changes, some players don't adapt to that. It might take a year or 2. It's just like when you change your whole freaking team. It's not going to happen overnight, ladies and gentlemen. You got to take little things into consideration. Everything changes. These guys are used to these same coaches for 3 or 4 years, and now everything gets changed. Scheme, your blocking preferences, the way you block, everything is different. Every single aspect of the game, no matter if our line's hurt or not. Yes, I say our line needs help. We do. We need help. But I'm pissed off because not a lot of people understand that the little intricate things that go into a game of football are held up by coaches. And that's all changed. And it's been 1 year. We have 2-time coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski. You're doing good, man. We watched you do things that we never thought would happen. But at the same time, you got another coaching staff behind you that you have to hold up above your head because this whole fucking city looks at just you. There's nothing else. It's all on Kevin. And that guy has a brick wall on his back right now that he can't let down because he's not a piece of shit.
I envision Kevin McAllister's name being called every time someone says Kevin.
I'm sorry.
No.
So I feel a little bit
I do
better
it
now.
every time. Every time somebody posts Kevin, I do like Kevin.
In my head, right? Yeah,
So,
same way.
Mike, here's where I totally agree with you, and here's what kind of bothers me with the fans and these coaches is I'm not sure any of the three of us, and this extends out to Daryl Ryder, Mary Kay Cabot, like Tony Grossi. There's a bunch of pretty plugged in people all over the place who all don't have an actual report, but all have a very, very sneaking suspicion that it wasn't Kevin's idea to change several of these coaches. Like Callahan, we had to lose. We let him go coach with his son. That was not going to change. The guy wanted to go coach with his son, who's a first-time head coach.
I would never back down from something like that.
Yeah, and you would have been an idiot of a franchise not to allow it too.
And
So.
I know, because other
father.
coaches are going to see that and be like,
Yeah,
don't go work for the Browns.
Don't go there.
They're
Yeah.
dicks. You know, and also they have similar agents. This guy's agent has other coaches and things under him. Like you want to keep, like, you're not going to hold a guy hostage. His son could have been one and done. Like this could have been his 1 year chance. And hell, who knows, he might be. But the reality is, like, so you had to replace him. Fine. So if you're mad about that, good. But all these other positions, like most people think he was forced to make a change because his offense didn't fit Deshaun Watson, who they put this massive investment in. And the entire theory was we need to get Kevin some guys who think totally differently from him because that's what we need for Watson. So looking at that now, it's like people didn't, normally I'd be like, well, Kevin hired his coaches, and so he's sort of responsible if they stink. Well, I don't think that's the case this time. I think he had to bring in people that aren't his people for Watson and I get it. If you spend 3 first-round draft picks and $46 million a year on a quarterback who you have 3 additional years with, you're doing anything you can to try to make that work for Andrew Berry is the move. But like, I agree with you. Like people have to look at like, okay, are those guys doing their job then? Because people should not be excited about Dorsey. He did not bring a great offense to this team. They don't run well. They pass down the field well, but like it's the same, making all the same mistakes he made in Buffalo. And then there's all of these other guys that had to get shuffled around because they had to bring in new people to go with this new scheme. And it's
and I'll echo what you said as far as if you have local reporters kind of like, no, I mean, Kevin, what you just said, Kevin had to do this. You have Adam Scheffler's of the world saying, if you get rid of Kevin, your Browns are stupid. So you have national people seeing how good Kevin is, and probably most likely they're probably as plugged in as the local reporters, seeing or hearing what's going on, knowing the fact that Kevin literally got the carpet pulled away from him and said, listen, we're going to get control of this team. You just coach and you guys try to mesh well your system with this system. Have you ever worked with somebody that you just don't get along with?
Yeah, my whole workplace. I don't talk to nobody.
It's not even if you don't like them. You might actually like them too, but if they don't
it's just
work
hard.
the same way as you, like I've
it's
had
hard.
lab partner, everything from like a college lab partner who was like, I really like this guy, like, or I like this girl, like they're fun. And then you're trying to work on a lab and you don't think the same way, or you don't do the same type of work. And it's like, oh.
So I believe this is what happened to Kevin mid-season. He's like, you know what? It's just not, they're not getting it. No one's getting it. I'm just going to give this to you. And then you run it because it's not me. It's not my system. I have been, and I know some people poo-poo Mike on 2-time coach of the year, but there's a reason why he had that. He was calling plays. He was good at calling plays. He was good at scheming, at handing off, fake handing off. What do you call it? Play action. He was doing all that. He was known for that. He did that in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins and was successful at it. And then you have him come here because he couldn't fit the quarterback you paid billions of dollars on. And all of a sudden you're like, all right, we're going to have you change everything up and we're going to fit the system to fit the quarterback, and we're seeing the benefits of it, which is it sucks.
You want to hear the benefit of Sunday?
The only other mini point I have too is you just sort of brought up that point. You spent years drafting linemen, putting them together, teaching them a certain like wide zone system, and then you needed to change your whole offense for the quarterback. And maybe, just maybe, despite the injuries to the line, that's also not what they do best. And you compiled a group of people that maybe don't do what this new offense requires from them the best.
I actually heard a really good analogy on the radio today that they're trying to make a rough and tough offensive line become finesse, and it's just not that.
We're never going to be what we were.
Yeah, if you want to be a finesse offense where you're throwing the ball and you're doing all this stuff, you're going to have to get a finesse type of offensive line. And then again, by the time the offensive line is built finesse, Watson's going to be done because, I mean, he might get another injury. Then you're screwing yourself. Then you have to start all over again. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
James brings up a really good point. We're going to switch from the offensive to the defensive. He says, so do you think Schwartz will come back with the regression of the defense? I hope he does. So does James. I just sit there and wonder why we went from a top 5 defense to, 17, 18 now? And
probably 20 at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all different, but I want Greg Schwartz to be back. I think that he got exposed, if you will, I guess, where he thought that everybody's going to know what we're going to run this year, and he tried to switch it up a little bit, maybe. I don't know if that's the case 100%, but I think things are different. There was more man coverage last year than there was prevent. We're playing a little more prevent again this year, and I hate prevent. I mean, it may open it up for an interception. There's so many variables.
So we're playing better quarterbacks. We're constantly playing from behind. There's just so many variables, and I think we know what Schwartz's flaws are, but I think you kind of live or die by, okay, they rush these certain people, they play this certain scheme. If you can get some turnovers and you can get to the quarterback, you're fine. And if you don't, you might get burned a little bit. But you also have to believe that these guys, they're on a 3-10 team. They were 1-6 to start the season. They knew this year was over. Like, the fact that they're still even have so many guys out there, like, playing with like the heat that they're playing with is shocking. Like, they know they're not going to win games, and then they're watching field goals get missed, and now they have to go out there and protect half the field. They're watching interceptions happen, and they know like, we just sat down. Like, geez, like, everything is going wrong for the defense. There's all the reason to believe if you just brought back the same coaches and the same staff, you've got to make some changes. Obviously, I'm not suggesting you do that, but if you brought everybody back next year and your offense is better, you'll probably be better. They'll probably look better than this. Like, they know they're not going to win. And by the way, just a reminder to everybody out there, they have the hardest schedule in the NFL.
We forget that.
They have the toughest schedule in the NFL. And here's the shocker. When they got that schedule, people thought the Broncos were going to stink. Broncos are going to the playoffs. People thought the Washington Commanders were going to stink. The Washington Commanders are pretty good. Teams that people thought were going to stink are even better than when they dubbed this the hardest schedule.
And then flip side, you thought Dallas was going to be good, and Dallas is just okay. I mean, so yeah, I agree. It's like we forget that we had a tough schedule, and it drives me crazy. It's like, dude, you're playing a better team. Like, you thought you thought Pittsburgh was going to stink this year because they improved their quarterback room big time. That alone,
I didn't think so.
And we've been saying that all off seasons. Like, man, they got Pickens. They got these receivers.
They won 10 games with Pickens, and then they brought in Fields, Wilson, and Wilson, 2 better quarterbacks than Pickens.
It's like, and then Tomlin.
They're going to win more than 10.
Yeah, they're gonna be more than 10, if anything, definitely. But I even hear it on like the local radio. Like today, I had to shut off the local radio because one individual was just like talking about the Browns in a way like it's like this dude has been, and maybe he's doing it for dramatic purposes, for show purposes, but it's like you've been following the Browns for like 30, 40 years, and you don't see the logic in which, like, I feel like we're as balanced as we can on this podcast. Like, we're disappointed that this sucks, whatever. But the reality is, like, if you get rid of your coaching staff, there's no guarantee you're going to find a great coach, and you're going to do this all over again in 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep Kevin just to keep him for the sake of keeping him. I think Kevin's a good coach. And I think if you give him some authority in which he has some say of how the offense is ran, you can get back to where you were. I texted you guys earlier. I was like, am I the only one that feels like people are just being dramatic about this season? Because
they are, and it's fine. Yeah. It's fine to be dramatic because this season sucks. And even so, I've been joking the whole time. I had the lowest expectations for the Browns from any Browns fan I knew. I said they'd win 8 or 9 games.
Yeah, including on the show. Yeah.
Everybody I know said they were going to win 10, 11, or 12. Mm-hmm. I thought they'd win 8 or 9. I didn't think they could hit double digits this year. And guys, they're not even close to 8 or 9. They are so bad. So like, even the person who had the lowest expectations of the team in the entire universe was still way overshooting. It's a terribly disappointing season. You should be pissed. But the problem is, don't fire people just because you're pissed. You never get rid of somebody if you don't have a better option. And before you say Vrabel, if you're moving on from Watson and you're taking these cap hits, or you're not moving on from Watson, you're going to strap Vrabel with Watson. Like, he hasn't proven to be able to do that either. And he probably is your best option. Also, we've heard multiple reports from people like Daryl Riders that he's very close friends with Kevin, and he would never take this job if they fired Kevin because they're very close. And like, he also doesn't want a bad situation in Cleveland. There's better situations for him, despite how much he is a fan of Cleveland. He's been in the building. He knows what's happening right now. So like, sure, he's your best option. And otherwise, I'm not sure who you go with. So like, I'm just not savvy to move on from somebody unless there's a much better option than a 2-time coach of the year who's only like 41 years old or something and can continue to learn and actually get way, way better at this.
And if you draw parallels to his career, the reason why he was getting better each year, and why did he suck this year? Why does it look like he's a horrible coach? It's because you literally, quarterback sucks, and you literally stripped him of anything, any identity that you put in his offense, anything, any identity in his offense, maybe somewhat him, but a lot of it is Dorsey.
Yeah, it's different now.
Let's move along really, really quick. Miles versus Watt battle. Is there any point at this point? Are fans just grasping? Yeah, Pittsburgh, TJ Watt. Yeah. Miles is better. It's simple. Let's not even argue that. Same with Judy versus Pickens. Pickens, you bitched out this week like a little bitch that you are. You didn't show up to your game when you talked all that shit all week. You backed out like a little girl. Have fun with your. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say.
Yep.
Yeah,
not going to say what I was going to say. Not going to say it.
I'm not going to do what everyone thinks I'm going to do and just freak out.
The Steelers Twitter this week. Yes, I went off on a little rampage this morning on some dude that is a Steelers fan that has 3 followers. Cool. But yeah, they're a little bit quieter after the O. And you know what? It's funny because I'm sorry, Angel, go ahead.
No, I have a friend who, ironically, when he lost, right, Pittsburgh friend, I sent him a text and I copied him on a row. I make nothing. But as soon as they win, he sends me something on Facebook. I'm like, come on, man. Come on.
I actually heard more from Twitter trolls after they lost than after this win, which I thought was crazy. And like, I heard a little bit, but like after the loss, I mean, if you looked at our Twitter the next day, we had 50 messages from Steelers fans being like, "Oh, you might have beat us, but this is this, or you're trash, or you're the bottom of the league," all this stuff. And then like after this win that they had, they like 2 or 3 people like messaged, and that was it. Like, I feel like they were so much more butthurt about the loss than they were like ready to brag about the win. And I thought that was kind of interesting.
James, that was why I posted that this morning. I posted that the Pittsburgh meme where it shows the kid, like this overgrown fat kid in the Steelers jersey, says, "I'm making fun of Bengals, Ravens, and Browns fans. Mom, leave me alone. I'll be up in 10 minutes."
Mom's
that was after me.
That's why I don't argue with it. I don't know who they are.
It's
a lot of
senseless.
times we start getting these like messages, and I look at the person's profile and he's got like, he follows 19 people and he's followed by 3. And I'm like, oh, this is just some burner account that he created to like literally troll people. It's probably not even his real account because he doesn't want to deal with like the backlash. He just goes on, makes fun of everybody, and then disappears into a hole. Like I have so much trouble arguing with anybody if after like the second comment, it's off the rails of insults and it's not like any more conversation. Like, TJ Watt is incredible and Miles sucks. I'm like, well, in this game, Miles did this and TJ Watt did this. And he's like, you guys are bottom of the barrel trash with a rapist quarterback. And I'm like, okay,
we're done.
I'm not having this conversation.
I'm gonna not even comment on that.
Yeah, this is
Kadarius Toney got dropped just like the Browns did this weekend.
Just like he did the ball.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dude. First of all, I wouldn't even cut him because of that fumble. That was just the icing on the cake. I was ready to cut him because he got a pass interference, talking trash and throwing the ball at a guy when he had no impact on the game in any way. What the hell are you doing, dude? I would have brought him to the sideline and been like, hey, this is your only warning. You either do something incredible or what are we doing here? And then he goes out and he fumbles a punt and essentially ends the game. And you're like, well, okay, well, that experiment was, fun, but
that's what we sounded like when he dropped that punt.
Yeah.
So
I knew he'd be gone.
Yeah, absolutely. We got the Chiefs coming up this week. Does anyone care that Taylor Swift may or may not be in attendance? No. I'm here to watch football. You care, Chad?
Me. I love this Taylor Swift story, and I love how mad it makes everybody. And is my favorite thing is they show her up in the stands, and I just really quick click on Twitter, and everybody's like, "Get her off my TV! I'm trying to watch football."
Yeah, it's like
now
it's only
Mike. Now I know it's Mike. He's like, I don't want to see her.
It's not even that, dude. Like,
and it's
every
only
time he makes a player adjust his helmet, you see Taylor Swift, dude. Get out of here.
I mean, it's only 2 seconds. Let her. I mean, she needs the followers anyways. I mean, she doesn't have too many followers on Instagram.
Angel.
I mean, what's her following? Right?
Angel's such a good guy. Like this weekend, we had our Sunday show. Thank you everybody for joining that as well. Our live Pittsburgh Steelers feed.
I'm impartial. I mean, I like Taylor Swift, but I don't hate her.
I don't hate her. I just hate that they show her.
I think she's pretty talented.
She's talented for sure.
But anyways, we did our live show this weekend, and Angel didn't cuss once. Me and Sam, on the other hand, couldn't let it. I couldn't.
Hey.
I mean, it's the Pittsburgh game, but I just couldn't do it on our live. I don't like the cuss.
No way I could do a live show without swearing the whole time.
Watching the Browns. You like Angel, dude, was a saint.
5
I couldn't
hours.
believe it. And he's like,
5
dude,
hours.
I want to cuss, but I'm not gonna. He's like, I didn't stub my toe.
No, I didn't stub my toe. No, it was fun. That live was fun. I'll tell you, yesterday though, y'all didn't hear a peep out of me about football because I was done for about.
I couldn't be a sports
I needed a day to
announcer.
recover. Yeah, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even look up anything for the notes for the show. I'm like, anything football, I need a
I'll
little
be honest.
break.
I do so much stuff for the Browns with this show that I probably actually watch a little bit less other football because I might come back and rewatch a little bit of Browns or something, but I actually turn football off a little bit because of that. I think because I need a breather.
Yeah.
James, I'm going to add you and send you something that I saw today that made Taylor Swift metal, and it was kind of cool. Sorry, Angel.
Yeah. No, Taylor Swift, show her as much as you want. I mean, they're loved, they're happy. It's a good love story. Let's enjoy
Plus,
it.
it'll get more people watching, and when we upset the Chiefs, more people will have it tuned in.
Yes. So more AFC North news. Bengals beat the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. They got the Titans coming up this Sunday. Ravens, they had a bye week this week, and they got the Giants coming up on Sunday. And the Steelers take on the Eagles. That's a wrap for the AFC North news. Angel?
Yes, the Cavs are still the best team in the NBA. Can we give it up for the Cavs? Yes.
They found a way to beat the Celtics too, so it's not even
I actually watched that game.
Yes. Awesome.
And our Buckeyes drew the 8th seed in the cup. What did I say? Cup there. In the
you were thinking of a kicker.
Yeah, college football playoffs, and we'll go up against the
home
ninth
game, which
seed.
is not.
Yes.
Against the Tennessee Vols. So that should be a good game. And the winner of that plays Oregon.
Yeah.
Dude, the
Rematch.
the Buckeyes have a friggin' gauntlet in order to make it all the way.
Yeah, Oregon does too. If they get past Ohio State or Tennessee, that's a tough bracket on that side for
Tough
sure.
bracket.
Absolutely.
But hey, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so whoever comes out of that bracket, I think might win because I think they're the toughest.
Honestly, I just want to win the Natty this year, just to piss off Michigan fans. That is the only reason.
Oh my God, it would be so funny.
I can care less. Like, you guys go ahead and you live that life. Drink that Flint water and enjoy.
Oh,
I said it. I said it. Probably the wrong thing to say, but you know what? You guys have talked enough trash. It's my turn.
Yes.
Tribe loses Cobb and Jimenez, but resigns Bieber and Gaines.
I forget the name of the guy. He's
the younger guy
nice
we were talking about earlier. The young guy.
Yeah, I lost the last name.
We'll find out here soon enough. Maybe
And we'll post it. Yeah.
Horwitz,
Yeah.
Spencer Horwitz. So they brought in a guy who can play first or second base.
Yeah.
People think he'll play. I assumed he was going to come in to play second. People assume he'll play first, and then we'll move on from Naylor. That would be. I mean, I get it. They've done a good job. They always do a good job moving guys around. But I am sad because I loved this group so much last year. Like, already sad we don't have Jimenez. Which, by the way, we had him under control till like 2029, and he was a fairly priced player.
Yeah, that's an odd move. Shocked. Normally they don't do that. So that was confusing.
But they did bring in another really young guy who they're going to have control of, and Horwitz he's a good batter. He's just getting started with, and so from what I read about him, it's
we need some big bats.
Pretty nice ad.
And that's the trade-off. A lot of fans are getting mad because they do love Jimenez, but at the same time, he's got Gold Gloves, but he couldn't outside of the player. Yeah, he did have some good hits in the playoffs, but like consistently.
That's what it was. He was a very smart batter in the playoffs, but he's not a great offensive weapon. But he was able to place the ball and get guys in some squeeze situations, and he just played pretty savvy baseball.
Sam says, I got a great idea for a Mad Browns fan t-shirt. Mad Browns fan t-shirt, throwing picks and missing kicks. I like that. Yeah, we all know James Frank says Juan Soto signed with the Mets, and you guys see some of the videos about that. Like, the New York Yankees fans are completely pissed. Completely, and I love it.
I don't know if this is true, but
boo-hoo, somebody's spending as much as you.
Right.
What I read that sealed the deal for Soto was the fact that the Yankees refused to give him his own suite for his family. I don't know if that's true, but if that's true, that's pretty insane.
I mean, honestly, though, Lindor and Soto together is going to be
sick.
That's what I thought of as immediately as I saw that.
And Soto used to be here with me in the with the Padres. And, man, that was a trio. That trio of hitters was incredible. But
the
Padres don't spend any money either. They're so similar to the they run their team so similar to the Guardians, even though lately in the last 2 or 3 years they've spent more money, but historically they're very similar to the Guardians. So that's pretty frustrating to have the Southern California team that spends no money when you have the Angels and the Dodgers just like giants also just rolling out all the cash. You've got the Padres who are money, nah.
Yeah. One more question before we end the show, guys. If we win the Natty, Gregory H said this. If we win the Natty, is Day safe even with the loss to Michigan?
Oh yeah, I mean you win the championship like that.
You win the championship, you bring it back.
Yeah, so this is a point that no one's going to bring up, and I'll bring it up now. Like, that was the last and final game that they played. No longer the last game of the season. I think next time they play is week 3, week 4. So the rivalry's going to still be there.
Weird.
Yeah, so it's not
going
to be
the day after Thanksgiving, or the 2 days after Thanksgiving
it's not going to be there anymore. So that loss. That I think it's eventually going to lose its luster. So it's not going to be as oh, you guys suck. I think it's just going to be a week 4 game and you're done.
I think the new rivalry is Oregon.
Probably, because they're going to probably win your Big Ten the first year they won the Big Ten, obviously, the first year they came in, and they're good odds of winning the whole thing.
Yes. I know. Meanwhile, everybody's like, the SEC got so strong, and the Big Ten just added Oregon and USC and wherever. And I'm like, yeah. Meanwhile, Oregon is number 1.
Yeah,
looking ahead straight to the national championship.
And Yeah, SEC has a couple in there. That's about it.
Yeah, good timing.
Yes.
Yep.
Anyways, we're gonna end the show, guys. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure you hit and like, subscribe. For sure, we'll be here Saturday. I think it's gonna be me and Sam.
Yeah.
But join us if you're awake, Chad. Feel free to join us. Again, congratulations to Angel on his new baby boy.
Yes.
Man, that's huge.
Wait, are we giving name suggestions?
Oh yes.
We can do that, but it has to be next show because I got to put these two ladies.
I'm gonna spoil it. I knew for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I told Mike 2 weeks ago, and I kind of been hitting some names around him. I think my wife and I are settling on a name as we speak. Once he's ready to release it, I'll let you guys know.
Yes.
I agree. Miles is a great name for a young lad.
I would love that. Winston Miles or Miles Winston.
Yes, James. That'd be awesome. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. We will see you Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. And be there, be square. Until
Peace.
then.